Hi, I'm Alex Howard, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the judiciary's role in American politics, the judicial restraint versus judicial activism. Understanding the concepts. Judicial restraint, judges who follow judicial restraint believe their role is to interpret the law narrowly and avoid making big changes. They try not to interfere with laws unless those laws clearly violate the Constitution. Basically, they defer to the decisions made by lawmakers, such as Congress, and avoid creating new policies from the bench. Judicial activism, or judges who allow judicial activism, believe courts should actively interpret laws and the Constitution to address social issues and sometimes create new policies through their rulings. They are willing to overturn laws or even set new legal standards if they believe it's necessary to promote justice or protect rights. So, two examples I used was Justice Clarence Thomas. It's known for judicial restraint. He tends to limit court power and emphasizes sticking closely to the Constitution's original meaning. And then Justice Sonia Sotomayor is often seen as more judicially active, supporting broader interpretations of laws to protect civil rights and address social issues. And then I just found this funny picture. It says the Honorable Justice versus the judicial activist. It says, how can you tell which one is which? Well, it depends which one you agree with. Philosophical distinctions. So, judicial restraint, stick to original text and precedent. Judges practicing restraints focus on the exact wording of the Constitution or laws as they were originally written. They also follow precedent, which means they respect previous court decisions and don't change the law unless absolutely necessary. They believe the job of changing laws belongs to the legislature, not the courts. And then activism, it's interpret Constitution in light of current times. Judges who are activists believe the Constitution should be understood in a way that fits modern society and today's values. And they think the meaning of the Constitution can evolve over time. So courts should interpret it flexibly to address new social, political, or even technological challenges. So restraint means follow the old rules closely, and activism means adapt the rules to today's world. And then I found this picture. It says courts and the policy making process. So it goes in a circle there and tells you, people start from the beginning. People believe a wrong has been done or a change is needed. And then it just goes in the circle all the way through the court decision and the outcomes. Interaction with other branches. So, restraint, courts should not overstep Congress or the president. So, this means that judges who practice restraint believe courts should avoid interfering with the decisions and powers of the legislative branch, such as Congress, and the executive branch, the president. They think it's not the court's role to make policy or correct every problem. Those are the jobs of the elected officials. Activism. Courts help correct government inaction or injustice. Judges who favor activism believe courts have a duty to step in when Congress or the president fail to act or when laws or government um, actions lead to unfairness or violate people's rights. So, two case examples I use are the Barron versus Baltimore, which is a classic example of restraint. The Supreme Court ruled that the Bill of Rights limited only the federal government, not state governments. So, this showed restraint by not expanding judicial power over states. And then the Uber Gefell versus Hodges. It's an example of activism. The court ruled that same-sex marriage is a constitutional right, actively shaping social policy by protecting civil rights when legislators um, hadn't done so nationwide. Constitutional interpretation and federalism. So restraint is a fixed meaning for originalism. So judges who follow restraint often believe in originalism. The Constitution should be understood based on the meaning it had when it was written. They think the text's original intent or meaning is fixed and should not be changed over time. Activism is flexible meanings, living document. Judges who support activism see the Constitution as a living document, meaning its meaning can evolve and adapt to modern circumstances and new social reality. And this allows the court to interpret it more flexibly to address today's problems that we have. So, federalism. Restraint favors states. Judicial restraint supports stronger state powers and limits the federal government's role. It respects state sovereignty and often avoids expanding federal authority. Activism, it favors national solutions. So judicial activism tends to support the federal government stepping in with the national policies, especially when the states fail to protect rights or address important issues. Effects on civil liberties. So, activism expands protection. Judges who follow activism often interpret laws and the Constitution in ways that expand individual rights and protection. And then judicial restraint refers to lawmakers on rights issues. Judges who practice restraint usually leave decisions about expanding or creating rights to elected lawmakers like Congress and state legislatures. And then the modern judicial influence on policy. So courts play a bigger role in setting national policy. Today's courts, especially the Supreme Court, are more involved in making decisions that affect broad national policies, not just individual cases. Um, an example I used with the students for fair admissions versus Harvard. This case involved affirmative action policies in college admissions affecting national discussions on race and education policy. And then if in the NFIB versus Sebulus, this case addressed the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare, impacting national health care policy. So, a reason why courts have a bigger role now, political appointments, judges are often chosen based on their political views, which can influence how they rule on big policy questions. Social movements, growing public activism, and changing social attitudes push courts to address major social and political issues. And then media attention, courts and their decisions get more coverage and public focus, increasing their impact on national debates. And then my conclusion, restraint and activism show different views on judicial power and democracy. Restraint limits judges and respects elected branches. Activism uses courts to protect rights and fixes problems. The balance between them shapes U.S. laws and society. So, understanding both helps us make sense of major court decisions. And here are my references. Thank you.